I'll never use a condom in my life. I'll never use a condom in my life. Now, a lot of you guys are probably like, whoa, you saw the title. You're like, why? Why are you not going to use a condom? That why that you ask yourself when seeing this title is the reason why this world is so fucked up. And it's sad that you even have to question yourself why. Because the answer I'm going to tell you is going to be so simple and primal, you're going to think you're stupid. And then you will go back to the roots in terms of morals and what should be. And you're going to go, oh, of course he's not going to use it. Of course. Let me tell you why. Before I tell you why, I just want to make a quick segment. The reason why you probably question yourself why is because everyone's having sex. Casual sex. Everyone's having casual sex now. Meaningless relationships. Giving a piece of their souls. Not spiritually in tuned. And don't truly have an idea of how the world works. I'm not saying I know all the answers. But what I do know is the world is more than just a physical sense. The people who are casually having sex on the internet, and it'd be the famous people on the internet, your flipping rappers, athletes, all of those guys. Meaningless sex. Meaningless. No substance. Giving a piece of their soul to these strangers they'll never see again. And then they wonder why they feel empty inside or miserable. I'm not going to use a condom ever in my life because I'm not going to be having sex with any other woman other than one. And that will be my future wife, who I've yet to find. And I don't see what's wrong with saying that. I mean, that's how it should be, right? That's how it's always been. But things have been twisted, haven't they? They've been twisted. It's now socially acceptable to have casual sex. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with dating necessarily. Obviously, don't go all out on that woman until you've genuinely committed to wanting to be with her if she's proved herself. So, I mean, don't fly her out to all these holidays like you've just met. Have some respect for yourself. And stop spending such portions on strangers you don't even know. Simply because she's beautiful and she has a nice box underneath. Who are you, a child? Get your morals on point. What the fuck's wrong with you? Grow up. But most people are like that. And see, so they see my title saying I never use a condom. Most people's first impressions, unfortunately, are this guy's weird. Now, a condom is a device people use to prevent pregnancy. You know, let me rephrase that. A condom, not even a device, it's a piece of material, plastic material, to which men and women use to prevent pregnancy from happening whilst doing casual sex. As we know, casual sex is bad because when doing casual sex, there is more than just the physical world. We have a spiritual world also. And things are happening in that spiritual world. Things are happening, man. And I can tell you this much, casual sex is not good at all. It is not good at all. My logic is cool. So I'm not going to have sex with all these people, women. I have a very clear mindset as a virgin, as a 19-year-old virgin as I speak. A lot of people have shame admitting to be a virgin. And I pity them. They shouldn't feel any shame. Being a virgin and waiting it out for the right woman just shows you how you have peace. You value peace, purpose over pleasure. To which it's ironic from the people's standpoint who do not, believe in what I'm saying, because once you do find the right woman, you're going to have pleasure and it will be purposeful anyway. So you get the best of both worlds if you wait it out. But everyone's so impatient because lust is thrown at your face. TikTok, there's a lot of pretty women on the internet, a lot of pretty harlots on the internet. Now, don't blame me for falling short. I mean, let me not speak like I'm perfect. I've jacked off numerous times, masturbated numerous times, so I'm in no position to talk like I'm perfect. I say this because I sympathize with you. I empathize with you. I understand your pain. I'm grateful that I was never really like a popular kid in high school. Yeah, I did attract a few pretty women here and there, but not to an abundant scale. Especially in college, I'm happy I wasn't popular in college because I probably would have fallen into the degenerate route and having a ton of sex. Because in my college, I know there are a few people in my class who have already lost their virginities, which is fucking crazy if you think about it. But I understand the pressures to lose your virginity, because I feel like that too sometimes. I'm a man. I feel like that too. But I understand long term, I will look back with a sense of regret. The same way I look back with regrets from all the times I masturbated and watching porn. Now, despite my regrets, I am grateful for it. It's taught me the lesson, and now going into my 20s, I'm 19 now, so next year I'll be 20. I have the mental clarity to realize there's something better, and the longer I wait it out, it's more rewarding. They say the sweetest fruit requires the sweetest of patience, right? In a metaphorical sense, being the woman. And you know, I'm a religious man. I follow Christ to the best of my ability. So I'm a Christian and I read the Bible, right? And you know, there's no saying there that it's okay to have sex with multiple women. And I believe, let's assume I have Islamic followers also. I believe it's the same in the Quran. Let me know in the comments below. Or in any other religion. If you're Jewish, you're watching this, I'm sure it's the same in Judaism, right? Now, I'm also aware, because I studied RV back in high school, some religions, such as Islam, I studied Islam a bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, my Muslim brothers, but I believe in Islam, it's acceptable to do polygamy via sleeping with multiple women, with the exception being, you treat all of them equally. I studied a bit of, like I said, I studied a bit of history. Not history, religious education about Ari. And I believe the seal of your prophets was Prophet Muhammad, right? And I heard he was the perfect man, so he was an exception among the rule and was able to treat all those women equally. I guess in that standpoint, you could argue polygamy isn't a bad thing, so long as you treat all 4 women equally. I mean, it's a very hard thing to do, especially in this day and age, you know? So I guess he was an exception in the sense of he treated them all equally. And I can see why that was kind of said. And, you know, God made that a rule for them in your religion, because not treating them equally, I guess you could argue is of some way or form a form of cheating. So which it is, you're not treating them equally. And it's very hard for a lot of people to do that nowadays, be polygamous. I believe a lot of people are just saying it out of a lustful standpoint, because you have to think about it like this. Do you know how much commitment and mental bandwidth it takes to even do and build a connection with the one woman? And everyone's just saying, I feel like everyone's just carelessly saying they want to be polygamous. They don't truly want to. They just want to have the pleasure of having sex. Most people. Like I said, I'm sure there's the exceptions, but most people aren't. And so, me going back to my core values, I'm sticking to what, you know, how it always was. I'm very old school. You know, so I'm waiting out till marriage. Everyone's talking shit about marriage nowadays, and I do agree with you also. I believe modern day marriage, they've kind of, look at this, let's stay the credit, man. Listen, when people love you so much, even acorns aren't scared of you, I'm telling you. When you're good in your spirit, you attract animals also. Hence why the squirrel isn't running away. It could. I mean, I'm 10 times stronger than it, but notice how when this animal walked away, it didn't run away out of fear, but most of respect, mutual respect. That squirrel doesn't see me as a threat, so I will view it as some form of respect. See what I mean? It's mutual now. We acknowledge each other's presence. And he was also going to tap my foot. When you're pure in spirit, guys, even animals are attracted to you. I made a video last year saying I tamed a cat. I don't even like cats. The cat got me. Speaking of women and relationships, because that's what this video is about. Let me tell you something, guys. You know women act like cats, right? You know their personality is exactly like cats, right? You know they want you more when you don't give them that much attention, right? Not to say you should be heartless, but they're the pursuer of you. So if you can tame a cat, let me just say this, women are gonna love you. Perhaps that's why I pull so many women. And I'm not even handsome. Guys, there's no excuse. I'm not even that good looking, guys. I'm like a 5 out of 10, but who cares? You know, we're a lot more, I feel like we're a lot more visual in comparison to our female counterparts. We look primarily for looks. They're looking for something a lot deeper, and I believe I have that in me. Maybe that's why I've attracted all these beautiful women in the past. Perhaps. Not to say I'm there I want to be yet, to the point where I want to, impregnate a woman yet, but I believe I've built a great foundation so far with women, and I've never really had a problem with women. It's just the initial phase of speaking to women tends to be the hardest part. I'm going off tangent, but going back to my morals, gonna get married. Oh, talking about marriage and how shitty it is nowadays. I don't blame you, it's really bad. The concept of divorce, I know, it's disgusting. And I made a video a while back also, you can type it up, why I hate divorce. In short, I made a quick metaphoric story about, let's say you have a gun and you put it on the table. Now, no one, why is my back's neck's itchy? You would never touch the gun, but it's just the mere fact that it's there. And you have that option to shoot, and it would be plausibly acceptable. It's the same with divorce. That's why I hate divorce. Now, I know I'll never divorce, but I say this to say, in terms of marriage and putting that stuff in place, don't involve the government. That's my logic, because marriage was made way before the government even existed. So I'm not going to make a now current... Well, there are always governments in the past, but I'm sure like leaders of a certain land, village or country. But I just prefer the government to mind their own business and not be so in my relationship side of my life. I think that's something that should be more intimate to myself, and not have a government who really doesn't even know me. Yeah, the government may sure know your address, your date of birth details, but they don't know you. You don't spend time with them. No. Do you see where I'm coming from? I hope I'm making some form of sense. And going back to the main idea, and I'll end it off by saying this, my logic is, once I do get married, in the way I prefer, no government involved, just traditional, that good stuff. My logic is, here's what I think. Once you get married, obviously, you can have sex with her as much time as you want. Obviously subjective to the amount of kids you and her agree to have. And they made this concept of birth control, which is essentially when the woman no longer wants to have kids anymore. I mean, you can't really argue. I mean, there's got to be at some point in the life, a woman you can't give birth at any age, but at some point it's like, yeah, I'm done. I hear it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the birth control hormone, but it's the fact that people are using it for the wrong reasons now. People are using birth control hormones to do degenerate casual sex with as many women as possible. And even then, women lie. So you can't always believe a woman. Hence why I'm so big on just having one woman you've built a relationship with for years so you can actually trust her. Then when you've had enough kids, you can have birth control. So the woman can go on birth control. And I know the purpose of sex was more so for procreation, having children. But if you love let me rephrase what I'm about to say. The purpose of sex was created to have children, not in a degenerate way, which is now the case. However, I believe, seeing as you two love each other already, I don't see what's wrong with sex, doing that every day with her now. Because you've loved each other already, you've already built that spiritual connection. So now it's just an exchange of spiritual love. So you won't feel like a piece of your soul. Now, yes, a piece of your soul is taken, but it's taken with the person that you love. So does it really matter, because you're one anyway and you love her anyway? So you're both spiritually in tune. Hence why the relationship has lasted so long and etc. You're just not doing casual sex and giving your soul to a ton of people in a degenerate, promiscuous way. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't see what's wrong with that. I guess it's more so the reasons to why people do said thing. Hence, the birth control hormones, stuff like that. Because naturally, I believe a few women goes on it, assuming they want to just have sex when they're done having children. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Have sex with your man as much as you want. With a flipping birth control hormone, when you give up having kids, I think that's I think that's how it is. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost certain what I'm saying is true. And that's how birth control hormones should be used. Once you're done having kids and you just want to have sex with your woman for pleasure, And you know, just gonna know each other more spiritually anyway. It's intimate, right? But people use it for the wrong reasons and just see it as a reason to be a degenerate and just give your soul away to all these women. It's influence from the internet. It's fucking us all up, and it's pissing me off a bit. So I figured I'd just state my thoughts. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I'm certain in my beliefs. Because I'm just going through what the Bible says. Old school, you know? You may disagree with me. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's a very sensitive topic to talk about. But also someone has to speak about this also, because it's going unnoticed, and you know, casual sex is very promoted nowadays and it's destroying the youth, and I've fallen victim to this and I've only woken up recently. So yeah, just stick to your morals, and I believe our parents are the best examples, because most of the time back in their generations, what, millennials, Generation X, those ages, maybe even before that, forgot the name, but they did it right, because back in the day, casual sex wasn't as promoted as it is now, you know? So times have changed, and I hope everyone can go back to their senses at some point, because lust is heavily promoted, man, and it links to all the other 7 deadly sins. Greed, I know greed is primarily talking about money, but in the context of relationships, you are kind of greedy. You are gluttonous also. I know gluttonous primarily speaks about food, but in a metaphorical sense, you're gluttonous also. Yeah, why am I putting plastic on my body to have sex? I don't want plastic on my skin when I'm doing something that's intimate. You think people in the past thousands of years ago were using condoms? No. No, the fuck? Come on, man. No, I'm not buying plastic, putting on my, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm going back to primal days, you know? Now, I guess you could say with the whole birth control hormone thing, like back in the primal days, they weren't using, you know, I'm sure they weren't that, they never really developed that, so perhaps there may have been a risk of them having sex, and well, not having sex, but having children. But even then, back in those primal days, it's like, that's probably why I'm willing to assume they probably had a really, really high bloodline, because they just did it a lot of times. Perhaps that's the case. It's a weird one. I don't even have the answers figured out. I'm just speaking my thoughts into the camera. So don't see me as someone who has all the answers. I'm only 19. I'm just giving my insights on what I think. It's a weird topic to discuss, but most definitely one worth being recognized and acknowledged and spoken upon. Hey man, this world is fucked. That's all I'm gonna say.